I want people here that deserves to celebrate their story, and then that is committed to speaking in a way that's going to help whoever's watching. I wish that had millions of people watching, but if it's one person, if it's like Miller, you know what I mean. That's all that matters. That said, I do want to devote a period like towards the end about like what's next and what are your kind of like what's the next mental obstacle for you as it relates to competitor. Be as protect your privacy, but like anything, like the more vulnerable you are, the more people we can reach. Just like underdog, like your story needs to be heard. Like this whole thing is about celebrating underdogs and just telling their story.
Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated, yeah. Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated, we the ones, yeah, we the ones, yeah, we the ones, we the ones, yeah.
Underdog fan, what's poppin', man? Today is a celebration. Excited to have Christian Davis come to the Underdog podcast studio. Man, I've been knowing this guy a long time. He's making me feel old. You know you're old when you start those. Man, I remember when you was a little kid running around, but that's where we're at. So I used to know Christian when he was just a young kid. I used to watch his brother. His brother was one of my favorite players, an under-the-radar player. Nate, what up? Nathan is his brother. Unfortunately, his basketball journey got cut short with injury, but we're here to celebrate Christian's journey. To me, the theme for this podcast is just an underdog that was overlooked, a late blooming underdog. So congratulations, here to celebrate your story, man. Thank you so much for pulling up.
I really appreciate you having me, bro.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Let's just get straight to it. Scale of 1 to 10. How good of a job do you do celebrating yourself?
Probably like a 6.
6. Well, today we're going to make that a 10. We're celebrating you for a few reasons. So my third book is, I keep saying it's done, but then I keep getting more. It's a guided journal. I think I told you that. And so this is going to be in the book. I've been working on this. I haven't completely polished it up. But celebrating, I've realized that most competitors don't properly celebrate themselves, and you just kind of alluded that you don't. But I'm going to convince you and hopefully anybody watching why we should celebrate, and through that we can get into your journey. I think you should celebrate yourself because everybody deserves their flowers, right? Right? Everybody deserves their flowers. Would you agree that we live in a world where the majority of people are selfish, self-centered, and self-absorbed?
Definitely.
And if they're not that, then there's another section of people that are insecure.
Right.
There's another section of people that are haters. So if the majority of people fall into those 3 categories, we're thankful for the people that don't, then there's a chance if you fall into one of those 3 categories that they're probably not going to give you the flowers that you deserve.
Right.
So you just said it's healthy. It's a needed process for you to get your flowers. So my question to you is, if you don't give yourself your flowers, can you count? Who are you going to count on to give them to you?
Right. Not that many people.
There you go. Yeah. So the other thing is like a lot of times we don't celebrate success because as ultra competitors, we've been conditioned to do that. Would you agree with that?
Definitely.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think we don't celebrate ourselves?
I think it just has something to do with there's always more. Like there's always more to get. There's always more to take. So even when you accomplish a goal or you have a good game or whatever, you're definitely conditioned to kind of keep your head down and keep your foot on the gas pedal and keep going. And I feel like there's not a lot of time for reflection.
See, and that's my pushback because I've been conditioned to that too. I think because of what you said leads to, and that's what I explored in the journal, is why you should celebrate success. Because I think when you soak in your success, it breeds an expectancy. Not only that, like you've earned the right to celebrate. You've worked so hard. You've gotten up at 5 a.m. You've been coachable. You've made these sacrifices. You played through injury. And you don't get to give yourself flowers. You don't get to celebrate yourself. But I believe, like when you soak in your success, it creates, like you said, you want more. Who doesn't like when you feel successful, you mean to tell me you don't want more of that? It's like back in the day, I used to go to the Papados buffet on Sundays. I don't know if you went back in the day. All you can eat seafood. I had one play. It wasn't like I was like, oh, that's good. Like I wanted more. Like we used to stay there for 5 hours at a time. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get my money's worth. I want to continue to eat.
Right.
So I feel like it's the same thing with success. Nobody wins one championship and then just says like, you know what? That was a great feeling. I don't want that anymore. Right. So I think it creates an expectation, but I think it creates a belief in self. I think it creates a belief that this feeling is like that I can get this feeling. And the other thing I think is that, you know, like I think that when you're living life the way that you live life as a competitive underdog, it's like playing a video game. The next level's harder. So what stands between you and the next level of success is the most adverse circumstances that you've ever been through. So I think that when you celebrate success, I think that that feeling, the more you soak into that feeling, the more you not only believe that you're going to get it again, but whatever you're going to have to go through, it's worth it because you know what that reward feels like. And so for me, I think that we as competitors, we often under-celebrate ourselves, and that prevents us from achieving success moving forward. What do you think about that?
I think I agree. And that's something that I, of course, got to get better at. But, yeah, like really soaking in the moment, I feel like it definitely be beneficial just because it gets you out of the, you know, out of like there's always more mentality.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of have a balance to it.
And so here's the thing. I think the easy thing and what a lot of sometimes coaches influence us to do is to say, don't celebrate. Like you said, you're going to get complacent. You're going to get the big head. But I don't think it's not celebrating. I think it's celebrating in a mature way, celebrating responsibly, celebrating as a mature competitor. Yeah. When you celebrate as a mature competitor, I think two things can be true. You can recognize that you're him, and you can celebrate your soak in your success and celebrate, give yourself flowers, but also be like, there's more work to do. Like I wrote my second book, Underdog. That's why we're here, you know, to kind of expand on that. But I spent a year of my life while everybody else was living the good life, and I'm writing, missing parties, missing social events, missing basketball. You know what I'm saying? I felt like a big kid in timeout. I didn't get to do much basketball. So on the date of my launch, you mean to tell me I'm not gonna have an event?
Right.
Nah, we got it popping. But there was still work to do. Like, I got to make content. I got to do these type of things. But that moment, and I captured on video, sometimes I go look at that moment and it motivates me and it drives me to be like, this is, you know, that felt good and I want that feeling again. So I just encourage you to celebrate your success, and that's why you're here. I don't put anybody in that chair that doesn't deserve to be celebrated, that doesn't inspire me and won't inspire my audience. So let me talk about you and why you should be celebrated, because everything I wrote in that book, Underdog, you are. An underdog's a competitor that appears to have no chance to win the fight. When I look at you and what you're doing, so many of the chapters turn back to you, like the checkmate chapter or enduring the nose. You're somebody like a lot of kids, a lot of young people that wanted to play Division I basketball. And I told you off air, I said, most people, I hate to see, it breaks my heart when I see people give up on their dreams prematurely. And I really, like, the reason that I felt that I had to write Underdog is because most people aren't built like you. And that's why I want to explore, like, how are you built the way you are? Most people, when they hit a few no's, they give up. I think that before people start, they should determine how many no's is my yes worth. How many no's is my yes worth? A lot of people have big dreams, but they can't endure one no. Right. They can't endure 3 no's. Where you've endured no's, long periods, long suffering of being overlooked, being dismissed. So this guy right here played Colorado high school basketball, Mullen High School, right, and was a late bloomer. And so got overlooked. Like a lot of athletes here, you get overlooked, but then you're a late bloomer, you get overlooked. A lot like Nate, your brother was overlooked. Definitely. But instead of downsizing your dream, you went to prep school. From prep school, walked on to D2. From D2, walk on to D1 at Bradley. What up, Jay Locklear? To Bradley. Go to Bradley. Barely play your first year, 44 minutes in your first year. Next year, your junior year, a contributor averaged, 23 minutes? Something?
27.
27, excuse me, I ain't even shortchange. 27 minutes. and now have put yourself in a position to be a valuable piece of a team that's going to trying to make a run at a Missouri Valley Conference title and go to the NCAA tournament, and then give yourself a chance to play professional basketball. So that should be celebrated. You better not under-celebrate that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I just want to know, like, what, I don't even know where to start with that other than say congratulations. But, what was it about you that when you got overlooked, when it felt like, because there had to be times where it felt like this dream of playing Division I basketball was never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably times when people told you to give up. People encourage you to downsize your dreams. What was it about you? Because I believe that what makes an underdog successful is the underdog DNA you can't see. They can measure your heart, but they can't measure your height. They can measure your reach, but they can't measure your resiliency. So what was it about you that just wouldn't downsize your dream and was able to endure all of that?
I think a part of it was because there were definitely times where I didn't think I was going to get to this point, or I didn't think I was ever going to make it. Or there were times when, especially in prep school, like when I first got to prep school, I wasn't touching the floor. Like I wasn't getting any burn. And I realized that it's now or never. Because if I don't get what I want out of prep school, it's like, all right, I'm just go to school, probably not play ball anymore. And I think the biggest thing was because of course I have these big dreams and like these big goals, but I think part of it was I put those kind of in my back pocket and I just focused on what was going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can I make myself better today?
Mm-hmm.
How can I accomplish these short-term goals? How can I get on the floor at prep school? How can I start shooting better? How can I be good enough on defense that I can play so I don't get subbed out at certain points in the game so that I can make an impact so I can help us win? And so I think that was probably the biggest thing. And I didn't necessarily know I was doing it.
Yeah.
I just kept my head down and every day tried to take it off in little pieces.
Yeah, that's good.
And then, one day I looked up and I'm like,
that's good.
I reflect and I'm thinking like, oh, this is, walking into an arena and we got 7,000 fans in the stands. Right. And I'm like, this is what I dreamed of when I was little. This was the dream.
Yeah.
So I think just like being able to just take it day by day and just try to knock off short-term goals. Mm-hmm. Eventually I got to a point where I didn't know if I was going to get to or not.
That's really good. And it's crazy that you didn't know that. And I discovered that organically too. I actually there's a chapter in the book where that same thing happened to me. I wasn't playing in college, and it was basically, I don't remember the chapter, but the theme is dominate what you can dominate. Dominate what you can dominate and let go of the hate. You know what I mean? And it was the same thing because I think that if your dreams are big enough, they're overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So like what you just said, like I have this big dream, and then you read some of the book, The Lemon Drops. I'm a big quote guy. One of the quotes is the world makes way for somebody that knows where they're going. I think that your dream is like your roadmap. This is where you're going. Right? But then it's just like you said, like you put it in your back pocket and you just worry about what's in front of you. Like Nick Saban always talks about, it's the process. You know what I'm saying? And then you arrive there. It's almost like when you drive on a road trip, you have to zone out. You put that playlist in, you know what I'm saying? Have a good conversation. Like you ever go on a road trip and all you think about is like how far you got to drive? It's like, man, like this is miserable. Like when I go on a road trip, I don't even want to look at the thing where it says how many miles. So throw that playlist in, have some good conversation, listen to some podcasts. Next thing you know, it's just like, dang, like I'm here. And so I think that that's so important. And I think a lot of people get their spirit crushed en route to their journey because it seems like it's so far away. One of the you can tell me what you think and expand on this. Lemon Drop is the quote, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it just applies to basically everything because, everybody has this like far destination they're trying to get to. But, like if you don't start, you're not ever going to get there.
Yeah.
If you don't try, you're not ever going to get there.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you just gotta get up and get moving, whatever it is, like you gotta give it a go. You gotta give yourself a chance to, accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. Yeah,
because even as you look back on your journey, right? To me, the hardest step is the first step. And I think that a lot of people, I say this in the book, is when you start your journey, this is actually the first chapter in the book. It's called Big Steppers. It's called it's talking about big steppers. You know, like in hip hop culture, we talk about big steppers. And is it bad that I don't remember the names of the chapters in my book? Don't judge. But it's
a long book. You wrote a lot.
Yeah, thank you. But it's essentially is like every big stepper started off small. Like Martin Luther King's quote, like if you can't fly, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. Every big stepper started off crawling towards that dream, and it's just like every day, just commit to just taking a step, and just like you said, put your head down and just take that step. And I think your story shows that becomes a lifestyle. Next thing you know, you arrive there. You know, when you're stepping in I was like, consistently stepping small in the right direction is better than infrequently stepping big in every other direction. And it sounds like that's how you got there, man. That's really good. That's amazing. So you what was, I guess for me, like the next thing I would want to know is what was there ever, what's the closest you came to quitting or just giving up, I guess?
I remember in prep school, so right out of high school, I had a couple like D2 looks. They were trying to give me like $2,000 a year off of like a $40,000 school, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so essentially, you know, no one really, they're just trying to like make a bet and like hope it paid off.
Right.
They don't really. So go to prep school, and I get there and I realize like there's some dudes on my team. Mm-hmm. I'm not the most talented one in the room, and at the beginning of the year, you know, I'm not playing a lot, and I wasn't getting like any kind of attention. Like it felt the same as it had been before. I wasn't getting any attention even when we have college coaches watching us play pickup every day. I'm not somebody that they're talking to. And I remember one of the coaches told my coach after we played pickup, and he pointed at me and he was like, "Oh, like that freshman's gonna be really good."
Yeah.
And I was an 18-year-old postgraduate student, right? So during that year, I just kind of, at the beginning of that year when I wasn't playing, like there's a point where I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna make this happen. I don't know if it's gonna be worth it. I don't know if, you know, moving across the country was the right decision. Like maybe I should have taken what I had. Like maybe I should have just done this, or maybe I should have just done that. And that was probably the closest I got, and like the most doubt I had, like at a certain point, was definitely then.
Yeah. What did you do to, I'm glad you said that, like the doubt, because I think that a lot of times we all have doubt. I think that it's inevitable if you are a big dreamer and you're crazy enough to go after your dreams. You know, there's always going to be doubt. You know, I think that, or it's easy for there to be doubt. One, because there are a lot of people that judge you by who you are and not who you need to be and who you're going to be. I talk in the book about growth mindset versus fixed mindset people. To reach your dreams, you got to be a growth mindset person. That means who I am today is left in today. When you see me tomorrow, I'm a better version of myself, even if it's just by a little bit. So when you see me 3 months from now, when you see me 6 months from now, and even that first chapter in the book, that's why it's saying like when you don't have to, what I say in there, that big stepper chapter is you don't have to be good enough to finish your race. Just be good enough to start it. A lot of people never even start their race because I want to write. Like, bro, when I first started writing, I wasn't a terrible writer, but I wasn't a writer that was worthy of getting a book published, yet alone two. I just had to be good enough to start. And then just keep showing up and have the courage. Anybody that wants to write a book, they should write it, even if very few people read it. It's it develops such a internal discipline, focus, strength. I mean, you have to, like, one of the most humbling things is you write this book and you pour your heart into it.
Yeah.
You give it to the editor. You open that thing up, and it's like mistake. You know, but that's a part of the process. But even through that, I learned and I grew and just, you know, cared about it. So I just think that's so important. With you, what are some of the things you did when that doubt hit? Is there anything specific that you did to overcome that doubt, to deal with that doubt? And obviously, you've defeated the doubt.
I mean, the biggest thing was, like, I just kind of had a conversation with myself. And I had a conversation with, like, my coaches, and I just talked to people, and I realized that, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, but, like, my back was against the wall, so to say. Like, it was now or never. So I might as well just shine. Like, I might as well let myself shine. I might as well get out of my own way, because if I don't get out of my own way and I don't fulfill whatever potential I have, then I know I'm gonna regret it.
Yeah.
So I might as well just go out there gunning. I might as well just, and after the first, like, 10 games of the season, I was shooting like 22% from three. I wasn't really playing a lot, and then I just slowly worked my way up through practice, through doing the right thing, just through workouts, and eventually I'm starting, and I have a stretch of games, about like 7 games, where I average like 22. So I go from not touching it to killing.
Yeah.
One game I had 36, and now I'm getting attention. I'm getting some of the attention that I wanted from before. And it's like, okay, like, I'm here. I can do this. Started the rest of the year. We win our league, which winning that championship is still the best moment of my life.
Yeah.
That is, bar none, like, nothing else touches it. Is the best moment of my life, because of the impact that I had on that team, because of what it meant to me, because of what it meant to our team. We ended up being 7th in the country. Yeah. And me being like a third option on the 7th best prep school team in the country is like, I just got out of my own way. I just let myself be who I could be, because I had to. I had no other choice.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Nick Grimp. Hey, real quick, I just want to encourage you to purchase a copy of my book, Underdog. I'm not encouraging you for me, but for you. Reason being is if you are a relentless competitor that's committed to reaching your goals no matter what, the fact of the matter is you're going to have to be supported mentally and emotionally so you can be given a safe space to develop mental and emotional strength. I know Underdog will do that for you. I think that for me, that takes me to, so I when I sign my book, I sign it, if tough times can't break you, they'll make a better you. That's from, you remember Dalen Kuntz? Yeah. So Dalen was actually, I think Dalen was my first podcast guest, first or second. I think first. Yeah, it was first. It was definitely first. I had one camera. Yeah, it was way back in the day. But his story, I was so moved by it that I put it in my book. And in Dalen's story, he talks about when he went to Colorado and just how tough it was that it almost broke him. He went into competitive depression, and then he thrived in northern Colorado. And the big takeaway from his is, what if the toughest times in your life that feel like they're just going to demolish you, that they're going to break you, they were actually sent to create you? What if you couldn't be the version of yourself that you currently are, that you needed to be to reach your goals, had you not went through the tough times? I tell people frequently in my workouts, hey, do you need to be tougher? Yep. Do you know what makes you tougher? Tough times. It's the only thing that makes you tougher, is being able to endure tough times. And I see that I'm going to try not to go down too deep of a rabbit hole, but so many parents rob their kids of an opportunity to reach their competitive goals, entrepreneurial goals, relational goals, is because they intervene and they find another club for them to play at because they got benched. They found another team, and it's just like you're robbing your kid of an opportunity to experience and endure the tough time, because I would rather somebody have a tough time with the support than when they go out on their own, because they're likely to crumble. But getting back to you, it sounds like you were at that underdog, that competitive fork in the road, where either this tough time was going to break you or it was going to make a better you. Is that safe to say?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that with that, I saw your psychology major. Okay, so you're like this sports psychology, Dr. Lauren Johnson. She's really good. She's a mindset coach, and she says that you have to suck at something before you're great at it. And so when you talk about competitive preparation, competitive maturity, it's like when you attack something challenging, you have to understand that there's going to be a period of time where I'm not going to be very good at this. But I have to go through that. Right? And that's what it sounds like you allowed yourself to do. Mm-hmm. You weren't very good at it, and then you just stuck with it. I have some thoughts. I didn't see it, but I have some thoughts about how you were able to not only endure it, mm-hmm. but use that to eventually thrive. But I want to hear from you, like, what was it? What were you able to do to endure that period where you weren't your best and get to the point where you were thriving?
Yeah, honestly, I want to talk about my first year at Bradley. So, like we talked about a little bit earlier, but like I didn't play. Like I wasn't in the rotation. I was like on the bubble, trying to crack in. And towards the beginning of the season, somebody in my position group gets hurt. He breaks his hand. Mm-hmm. And so now, just for like I have to play. Mm-hmm. I wasn't expecting to play. I wasn't expecting this to happen. Mm-hmm. I just get thrown into the fire, right? Mm-hmm. Play fine for what's expected of me. Like play pretty well, exceed my own expectations a little bit. I'm solid, and now I'm like, okay, like I'm here. Like I can do this. This is what we're gonna do. And then he comes back from injury, and I'm right back to where I was at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And that year in general was tough. One, because I felt like a freshman all over again because of the jump from D2 to there. Like we hang our hat on like defensive rebounding and toughness and competitiveness. And you can ask any coach I've ever had, I didn't play a lick of defense until about a year ago. Yeah. Right. And so I was struggling. I was struggling at practice. I was messing up drills. I couldn't get out of my head. Mm-hmm. I was anxious. I didn't know what was. I felt like I had no idea. I felt like I'd never played basketball before, and that was like I felt like I sucked, and I was telling myself I sucked. I was like, this is, and I was just in this negative spiral mentally, and it was tough, and I wasn't, and honestly, like I wasn't, like I knew I wasn't ready. Like I wasn't ready to play, and that's something I can admit to myself now. But like I wasn't ready at the time, right? And I just, just kept my head down, toughed it out, and like now I can look back on that and be like, okay, like I had to go through that. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I didn't realize how much I struggled that year and how much it was draining for me until this year, right, where I felt a lot more comfortable. I felt more confident. I was trusted. I played a lot. I had a big role. And I didn't realize how tough that year was until I had this year where, I mean, of course, every year has its ups and downs. But I realized that, like, wow, that was a lot for me. Mm-hmm. That was a lot. And I think I just tried to just keep my head down and just push through it. And eventually I knew I would come out on the other side.
Man, I'm getting chills because that's, like, bro, I've given my life to serving athletes in that space. That's why I wrote this book, is because how many people, when they get to that point, they don't have, one, the support, two, the strength. And I use the word emotional toughness in the book. I'll just pause there. What is that word? How does that word affect you? And what do you think about that phrase, emotional toughness?
It makes me think initially, like, staying even keel. Like, something very good happens or something bad happens, just trying to stay in the middle, or at least your output, whatever that is, like if its performance on the basketball court isn't affected by like negative things or something negative happening, try to just like stay solid.
Well, I mean, I think that's a part of it. I think that like it's sometimes we try to ignore our emotions, or it's stigmatized in competitive spaces, but when you care about something and you sacrifice something, and when you these are things that you probably don't think about, but to be a college athlete, like you're getting ready to get on a plane tomorrow and you're getting ready to go to the Midwest, and your family, your support is in Denver, to go halfway across the country to pursue your dream, and to make such sacrifices to work out, 3 times a day and, skip holidays and play through the pain and all that, to fail sometimes, to put everything into something and it doesn't work, to put, like your brother, put everything into something and you get hurt. You can't tell. That's a different type of pain, right? And how do you, when you put everything into something, like there are times as a competitor, it's like you love it so much and you put so much into it. It would be the equivalent of you being married to somebody and you're showing up every day and you're putting everything into it and it's not being reciprocated. And like most people would say, nah, this ain't for me. But you love it so much, you got to find a way to keep showing up the next day and the next day and the next day until it turns around. That's an emotional toughness that you have to have. So with you and what you did, how many people in that circumstance would just either hang it up, or a lot of people, they just go through the competitive motion, so to speak. They don't have the courage to like actually quit, but they just kind of just ride it out and just get it over with. But you didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? So again, you should be celebrating yourself for being able to do that, because a lot of people wouldn't do that. It's not only going to help you be a great basketball player, that's going to help you be a great father, a great leader, whatever it is you want to do professionally. But what would you say to a parent that is trying to help an athlete that's in that space? Or what would you say to an athlete? I was so appreciative you talked to some of my high school athletes, because that day is coming for them. That and I guess more specific, like you said, like you didn't know how tough it was going to be. You know what I mean? You thought you were ready, but you weren't ready. What do you say to that high school kid right now that's getting ready to go play in college, but has no idea, and he's putting in the work, but he has no idea how hard it is? Like, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that it's work.
Yeah.
You do it because you love it. And for the most part, the people that you're around love the game, because you wouldn't do what is required of you to play at that level if you didn't love it. Mm-hmm. You got to be a little bit sick. Like being in love with just the idea of getting better, being in love with the competitiveness, how much it matters, embracing how much it matters, embracing the pressure, embracing like you're going to war with these other 15 dudes next to you, and that's what it feels like. It feels like a war. It feels like a battle. Every day.
Yeah.
Practice is worse than the games, from a competitive intensity standpoint. It's work. Now, that's not to discourage or scare anybody.
Just get prepared.
Be prepared, and because you're gonna hit a wall. Mm-hmm. You're gonna hit a down slope. Mm-hmm. You're gonna struggle, especially coming straight out of high school. You're gonna struggle. It's gonna be harder than anything you've done before. Mm-hmm. But you can do it.
Yeah.
Like you will figure it out.
Tough times make you tough.
You are so much more capable of anything that you think like you're capable of. Yeah. You can do it. Yeah. The first lift I ever had.
Right.
I was like, how am I gonna?
I gotta do this tomorrow?
I do this 4 times a week. Right. How am I gonna do this? How in the world? And then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, I'm like twice as strong as I was before. It'll be tough, and it's work. And every day isn't, basketball, but like you keep going because you love it and you're going to figure it out.
I like what you said, just going back in the conversation, how when you got, I think it was to the prep school, where it was just like, hey, this is it. Mm-hmm. Like, ain't no looking back. Like, this is what I'm doing. I think there's so many people, whether it's athletic competition, entrepreneurial competition, they give themselves a plan B. Well, if this doesn't work, where you got to go into it and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it work. And I think, even tell me what you think is this is a college athletic specific with the transfer portal. For a lot of people, it gives them a way out when there's adversity. As soon as there's adversity, is there smoke? Well, I'm just going to call my people and get in the portal. Right. As opposed to, because I don't like, one of the things I don't like about the transfer portal is I just hated how kids are already looking for their next move. And not just kids, the coaches too. Right. while the season's still going on. I've always advised, hey man, like finish the season out. It's hard enough to succeed at this level, but it's even harder when you have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. So it just going back to look at that, I think that was a huge takeaway. Like this, as hard as being a competitive athlete is, it's, hey bro, like every day you in here, you gotta have 2 feet in, dog, or you ain't gonna make it. No. You're not gonna make it at all. So I got something for you since you're a psychology guy, and I wonder if you hear this, does it apply to you and how you were able to find success at the prep school? Maybe it even help you going into next year. So there's this guy, his name's Daniel Coyle. He wrote the Talent Code. Okay. So in the Talent Code, he talks about the period of deep, this space of deep practice. He went all across the world trying to talent hotbeds, trying to see if you were born with talent or it can be cultivated. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Is it like I go to this talent hotbed of musicians in Nashville, this talent hotbed of soccer players in South America, whatever it is? Is it that all these talented people go here, or is it that they go here and they develop a talent? And what he found out is like it can be cultivated. He would watch there was a similarity in all these diverse talent hotbeds, and the most talented person started off as just like mid at best. Right. But they would work and practice so intently that they would out-mistake everybody else. They were so aggressive that mistakes were inevitable. But because of their passion and their care and their focus, they grew exponentially with every mistake. They actually mistaked their way to greatness. Mm-hmm. And it's called the deep practice. That's when you're in deep practice. And he was like, it's such an intense space to be in that people couldn't sustain being in this space for like more than 2 hours because it was so mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically exhausting. How does that hit you? And as you look at where you were, like I know you said you went to where you were at the prep school where you went from shooting 22% to 47% and leading the team. As you look back, do you think that may be something that you did unknowingly, just put yourself in this place where I'm so aggressive, I'm making mistakes, I'm like Lauren Johnson said, I'm in the suck zone, but I'm growing through these mistakes?
I mean, absolutely. Like there was, for all the struggles, there was definitely a point where, like I said, back against the wall, whatever. And so I just was like I'm gonna go out gunning, like no matter what, no matter if I go from 22% to 7%. Like I have to go out gunning and making those mistakes, and then the biggest thing was like allowing myself to make the mistakes, not beating myself up too much over the mistakes, which is something I'm still working on, but knowing that not everything is going to be perfect, but if you just give it a chance, like it'll work out the way it's supposed to.
No question. And so circling that back to my book, there's a chapter in there. And I don't know if you noticed, I was the interim coach at Valor this summer. Okay. And ironically enough, they did end up winning state, but it's actually a full circle story. So, I mean, one thing about my workouts, like that thing that Daniel Coyle talks about, I force people to be in that space of deep practice where they're going to make more mistakes than they ever have. But they're growing through the mistakes. The rate of improvement with the kids that I work with is crazy because I force them to live in that space. I don't care if it's ball handling. I force them to dribble so hard that they're not going to be. And next thing you know, they're dribbling hard 2 weeks later, and it's like, oh, they got it. And so they're making mistakes. Mm-hmm. The team is the first practice. More mistakes than they're accustomed to. And they're shaming themselves internally. They're feeling bad about themselves because in their mind, they're trying to have a perfect practice. Yeah. I'm trying to have the most aggressive practice ever. Those two, and what that experience said is those two things don't mix. Mm-hmm. They felt terrible about themselves for something they should be applauding. They felt terrible about themselves because they were making mistakes. But I understood that mistakes were a part of the process. Mm-hmm. I understood that they had to go through the suck zone. I understood that we are in deep practice right now. Why do I have a smile on my face? Because you're improving exponentially because of the focus and the and aggressiveness and all that. I said, your most aggressive self is what wins, not your most perfect. I looked up in the ceiling. I said, they don't give any titles. There's no banner up here that says most perfect team. I ain't never seen a trophy that said most perfect player. So why is it as competitors do we accept this toxic agreement that we have to be perfect when everything we want requires aggression, not perfection? And you said something, you have to give yourself space to go through that suck zone. But I think when you talk about emotional toughness, a layer of that is there's going to be external consequences for your most aggressive self. Are you, and I'm talking to you now as you get ready to go level up this year, are you equipped for that? External circumstance. I have the courage to rip through, make this drive, and I might miss it. But I could just play it safe and swing the ball. Because if I rip through and make this drive and I doesn't go well, I'm going to go on Twitter and I'm going to get dragged. I'm going to have to sit up there at the press conference and get talked about. My coach might throw his clipboard. He might take me out the game. But if you're emotionally tough to withstand that and you learn from it, like at some point you're going to be the best version of yourself. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it actually is super, super applicable to me and what I'm going through right now. Like, I have a coaching staff right now who, one of the biggest things that they want me to improve on isn't on the court related. It's more that we all get a sheet at the end of the season. You do your exit meeting, you get a sheet of what they want you to improve on. One of my biggest improvements is walking on the court with the same swag that I have off the court. Being the same sure of myself, confident person consistently on the court the way that I am off the court. And it's something that, like, I think that's, especially for me and just how my whole journey was, it's something that I am practicing. It's something that I am, like you said, going out, allowing myself to have space, trusting myself, trusting the work that I put in, that I can rip through and go drive, and it doesn't, whatever happens, but more times than not, I'm going to make the shot or I'm going to make the right play. But allowing myself to have that space to not be anxious about making a mistake, more so, instead of being anxious about making a mistake, being excited about making the right play, being excited about knowing that if I am in a decision-making position, or I'm a screener, or I'm a cutter, or I'm going to crash the O boards, being excited about being able to do something to help my team win because I'm capable of that, because they trust me to do those kind of things. They trust me to make those kinds of plays. So it's just allowing myself to trust myself in my work and know that I belong and that I deserve to do those kinds of things, because all it does is just help my brothers win, right? So I think just allowing myself to really just like feel myself a lot more, like just go out there and know I can do it, know how good I am, and just let myself do exactly what I'm capable of.
Are you a good person?
I think so.
I think so too. You're a good person. Sometimes, do you always do the right thing?
No.
Sometimes you prove you're a good person by how you respond to doing the right thing, to the wrong thing. Agree? Are you a good player?
Yeah.
Sometimes you prove that you're a good player by your response to how you make the wrong play. So that just changing that framing. I'm a winner. I'm a great player. I'm not a great player because I'm always going to make the right play. What defines me being a great player is when I do make the wrong play, one, I'm going to be accountable. One, I'm going to learn from it. Right? It's at the in the end, I'm going to be better for making that play because I'm going to learn from it. You know what I'm saying? To me, like, the disappointment when you let yourself down is when you make the wrong play and you don't go watch film the next day and you're not in the gym. Okay, you missed the shot. But did you come get up shots the next day? That's when you should be upset. That's when you're responding like a loser. Adele Harris, follow her on Twitter. She says failure is an event. It's not a person. How about that?
Yeah.
It's an event. It's not a person. I'm not a failure because I failed to display. I think I'm failing in a sense when I respond in a losing way. But I proved my winning character. Kobe shot 5 air balls his first playoff game. I don't think it's a coincidence. 5 air balls, 5 championships. Yeah. But his response to the 5 air balls is what proves that he's the Black Mamba, that he's one of the greats. If Kobe can make in one game, I don't know how many mistakes, you know what I'm saying, 5 air balls, and overcome that. You know, so, and that's when we talk about this whole thing, like, you know, being a mental deal and overcoming those mental hurdles. Because for me, you know, competitive fulfillment, that's a word that I left you with the other day, competitive fulfillment. At the end of the day, you want to be competitively fulfilled. Me, as a basketball player, I'm not competitively fulfilled because I was afraid to make mistakes. It was a lot harder on me. I played for my dad in college, so it was just it was too much for me then. And for me, writing a book, all the things, even this conversation, is having a conversation that I need to have. And I don't want you to, when your career is done, to wonder how good I could have been. I put in all the work. I was a great teammate, but when that ball got swung to me, let me just swing that. Just because I was so intimidated by failure. Because I didn't look at failure. I wish that I was following Adele on Twitter back then, even though I'm too old. I was a long time ago before Twitter. But I wish somebody would told me failure is an event. It's not a person. You have to get yourself prepared to be the most aggressive version of yourself. That's the only way you're going to be fulfilled. That emotional toughness is to know that I'm going to make mistakes. That emotional toughness is to know that I'm not going to always get it right. But I'm going to be resilient, I'm going to be accountable, and because of the mistakes I may have made in November, when you see me in March, I'm going to be right where I need to be. You know what I mean? What do you think?
No, definitely. And I really, really like the idea of competitive fulfillment. Because, like thinking about what I've accomplished so far, like, I would say if like the ball stopped bouncing today for some reason, I would be proud of myself, but I wouldn't be fulfilled. Like, I know there's so much more that I can do, that I can earn, that I can go take. There's so much more. Like, I feel that my ceiling, my best basketball is in front of me for sure, and I feel that my ceiling is very high, and my worst fear is not being able to reach that ceiling. And a big part of it is everything that we've talked about, and exactly what your book talks about is just like the mental hurdles, just from just getting out of my own way and just letting myself, because I work, you know, I have the physical tools, I do all these things, right? I do a lot of the right things, but there are definitely times when I get in my own way, and that's just something that once I work on that, which I'm working on it every day, once I get to that point, then, you know, like, the only person that can stop me is me. That's really how I feel about it.
Yeah. Hey, Denver Hoopers. Hey, listen, man, if you're serious, like, if you ain't, don't worry about it. But if you're serious about reaching your basketball goal next year and beyond, you cannot throw this summer away. Hey, this is Nick Graham. I'm in the gym all summer. I've coached at Iowa State. I've trained NBA players. I've trained some of the best players in the state. And I'm just here to tell you, man, make sure you take advantage of this summer. So June 1st, we're starting the Nick Graham Summer Skills Academy. No, man, I appreciate that. That was really good. So you have a strength coach, right? You have a skills coach. What about mental coach?
Yeah, we actually do have a sports psychologist. Yeah.
Make sure you take advantage of that, you know, because just developing your mentality. You know what I mean? You can convince yourself of anything. Somebody asked me on a podcast, they said, what was the craziest lie you told yourself? I was like, that I could write 2 books. It started off as a crazy lie, but I convinced myself that I could do it, and it turned into a reality. You know, like, that's how strong the mind is. You know, what if, somebody, I've read, somebody that I read says that the person we lie to the most is ourselves. What if we told ourselves healthy lies? What if we told ourselves good lies? And we just convinced ourselves to believe it. You know what I mean? And then you look back and it wasn't a lie. It wasn't a lie after all. So when you talk about, holding yourself back, like just strengthen your mind to convince yourself that of what you can do and that you can accomplish it. I'll give you a copy. I know you read a little bit of the book, but I want you to read that. I really believe it will help you on your journey. I also would encourage you to journal. Clay Thompson is a big advocate of journaling. Here's the reason I think that you should journal. There's a quote in the book. I think I said it earlier. The world makes way for a person that knows where they're going. I think that journaling kind of like helps you do that, and it helps you develop a game plan. But I also think it's a safe space for you to open up. Sometimes in the competitive space, you don't know who you can open up to, but you can always open up to yourself. So I would just encourage you to journal with that. Just in closing, is there anything else, that you feel like any other obstacles for you to be able to, well, let's take a step back. What are your goals? What are your personal goals? What is competitive when we're sitting here in March or May as you transition, God willing, from, hopefully, winning the Missouri Valley Conference and playing an NCAA tournament and pivot towards being a pro basketball player? What does competitive fulfillment look like at that point?
I think it's making the most of the opportunity I'm given, which is a little vague, but with, however our team shakes out, the role that I have and the role that I earn, maximizing the potential of whatever that is. And I'll know what that feels like. Yeah. I don't know specific numbers. I don't know nothing, for sure. But I'll know when I feel it for sure. And then on top of that, just always contributing to winning, because that's what, I played in 2 NITs in a row for 2 years, and it's that's cool and very proud of it, but I need to play in the tournament. I got to that's what I need. And so whatever I can do individually to get us there is pretty much my main goal. Is however I can maximize our possibility of making it to the tournament, maybe winning a game in a tournament game or 2, making a run. But that's definitely what I'm thinking about the most.
How many seniors you guys have?
Let's see, 4 or 5.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
that's great. Who else in the Missouri Valley is going to be is going to challenge you?
Yeah, so it's weird because we finished 3rd last year.
Right.
The top 2 teams, both of their coaching staffs took other jobs. And
right. Who's that?
Indiana State and Drake.
Yeah.
Drake's staff, West Virginia.
And then Drake's best player left. Right?
Yeah. His Drake's coach, his best player was his son. So they both went to West Virginia. Yeah. And then the Indiana State staff took the St. Louis job.
And they took their best player.
Yeah, and then the rest of them went scattered around, whatever.
How good was that kid? The Larry Bird? No, what did they call him?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah. How good was he?
Nah, he's cold. He's good. Yeah, it's very good pace, very skilled, good passer. Yeah, he's super solid.
Who's the most challenging team or player that you played when you were at Bradley?
I would say definitely Drake.
Yeah.
I don't know. Drake and Indiana State, both of them, but
nobody had a conference?
Oh, what am I thinking? I'm thinking all in conference right now. Let's see, who do we play? We played Arkansas last year. That was crazy because it was there.
About 19,000.
Yeah, 19,000. Wild. Yeah. We beat Utah State this year, which was a very good win.
Yeah.
I don't know, probably that Arkansas game. Yeah. That was wild. Yeah.
Yeah. What's that like playing in front of 20,000 people and at Arkansas they right on top of you too?
Yeah. It was wild. And I didn't play a lot that year, but
that was the first year.
Yeah, it was the first year. But it's the environment mostly, you know, I mean, what I should talk about is when we played at Indiana State this year. At Indiana State, they gave out 3,000 free tickets so they could sell out the arena, and they all had like goggles on for old boy, and like that was wild because their stadium is like real like high up, and so it's like everybody's like looking steep, like just looking down, and like wild, super loud, like couldn't hear anything. We ended up losing in overtime. It was like 95 to like 87. Wild game.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think that's it. Unless you got anything else.
Nah, I just appreciate you having me on.
Nah, no doubt, man. What's your real quick? Drop your social media.
I got you.
My 37 followers, 37 subscribers. Subscribe too,
cool.
So.
My Instagram and Twitter are the same, and it's at Christian Davis with the S and Davis is a 5.
Yeah. Make sure you tell Nate I said what up too.
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
Before you go, I gotta have you sign the wall, man.
Got you.
Gotta have you sign the wall. But no, I appreciate you, big dog.
Thank you, man.